On the fourth day, a smaller craft detached from the mothership and descended toward Seoul, South Korea. World leaders had agreed this would be the meeting point, neutral ground for humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Ta stood on the roof of the Seoul government complex, her dark hair blowing in the wind as she watched the alien shuttle approach. As Earth's appointed diplomatic representative, she felt surprisingly calm. Perhaps it was her decades of diplomatic experience, or perhaps it was something deeper, a strange sense that this moment was inevitable. Beside her, Director Kim adjusted his glasses nervously. "Are you certain about this, Ta? Meeting them alone?" "Not alone," Tae replied, touching the ancient jade bracelet on her wrist. "You'll be watching from the secure room below. If anything happens, you know what to do." The shuttle hovered silently before touching down on the landing pad. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, then stabilized. A doorway appeared in its side, unfolding into a ramp. 3 figures emerged. They walked on 2 legs, but looked nothing like humans. Their bodies were tall and slender, with smooth, pale blue skin. They had 4 arms, each and large, multifaceted eyes that gleamed in the sunlight. Their mouths were small, almost hidden beneath what looked like breathing filters. "Remarkable," murmured Kim. "They can breathe our atmosphere." The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Nell, first speaker of the Galactic Coalition. We greet the people of Earth and welcome you to the community of spacefaring civilizations." Ta bowed slightly. "I am Ta, representing the United Nations of Earth. We welcome you to our world." Nell's head tilted curiously. "Your species shows unusual composure for a first contact event. Most developing worlds react with more confusion." "We are adaptable," Tae replied simply. The aliens exchanged glances. The smallest one produced a device that projected a holographic star map. "Your solar system exists at the edge of explored space," Nal explained, gesturing to their location. "We have been monitoring your development for some time. Your recent achievements in space travel, while primitive by our standards, have qualified you for official contact." Ta nodded, betraying no emotion at the condescending tone. "We bring gifts," continued Nal, as another alien stepped forward carrying a metallic case. "Technology to help your species advance more quickly. Clean energy production. Medical breakthroughs. Basic interstellar navigation systems." "How generous," Ta said with a slight smile. "And what does the Coalition expect in return?" Nell's breathing filter fluttered, perhaps their equivalent of a chuckle. "Only your participation in the galactic community. Access to your unique biological resources, perhaps designated areas for Coalition research facilities. All standard protocol for emerging species." "I see," said Ta. "And how many emerging species are currently part of this coalition?" 27 civilizations at various stages of development," answered Nal proudly. "The oldest members of our coalition have been spacefaring for nearly 50,000 of your Earth years." Tae's fingers brushed against her bracelet again. Impressive. Though still quite young, in cosmic terms. The alien stiffened slightly. Nal leaned forward. "Your species has existed for less than 200,000 years. You achieved basic space travel less than 100 years ago." "True," Tae replied, "but appearances can be deceiving." She pressed a hidden catch on her bracelet. The jade stone glowed briefly, and somewhere deep beneath the Earth's surface, ancient systems stirred to life. Nell's device suddenly beeped urgently. The alien looked down at it in confusion, then back at Ta with new wariness. "What is happening? Our sensors detect energy patterns that your technology should not be capable of producing." Ta smiled fully now. "We've been waiting for someone like you to find us, Nell. Your coalition is actually a bit earlier than we expected." She extended her hand, palm up. Above it, a small hologram appeared, a map of the galaxy far more detailed than the one the aliens had shown. "Perhaps we should begin our conversation again," she said. "This time, as equals." The alien stepped back in shock, their confident demeanor crumbling as they realized their fundamental misunderstanding of who and what they had just encountered. Vos had never felt comfortable on Earth. Something about the planet unsettled him, though he couldn't explain why. As the Coalition's most respected archaeologist, he had visited hundreds of worlds, but none made his scales itch like this small blue planet. He stood now in an underground chamber beneath Jeju Island, examining wall carvings that made no sense. According to human history, this chamber should not exist. The volcanic island itself was less than 2 million years old, yet the carbon dating of these walls showed they were at least 20 million years old. Impossible, he muttered, running his long fingers over the symbols etched into the black stone. You keep using that word, said Professor Jun, who stood watching from the corner of the chamber. The human archaeologist seemed amused by Vos' confusion. These symbols, Vos said, pointing to a particular sequence. I have seen them before. On Takara. On Lintus. On worlds thousands of light years apart. He turned to face Jun. How can they be here, carved before your species even evolved? Jun approached and traced the symbols with practiced familiarity. Perhaps you're thinking about it backward. Explain. You assume these symbols originated elsewhere and somehow appeared here. What if they originated here and then appeared elsewhere? Vold blinked his 3 eyes in rapid succession. That would mean. It would mean humans, or something connected to humans, visited those worlds long before your coalition existed, Jun finished. Across the Pacific Ocean, another discovery was unfolding. In a mobile laboratory outside a remote archaeological dig in Arizona, Jin carefully extracted DNA from fossilized remains found deep within a cave system. As the Coalition's genetic specialist, Mech, watched over her shoulder, the results appeared on the screen. This cannot be right, Mech said, mandibles clicking in agitation. Run it again. Jin smiled patiently. I've run it 5 times. The results are consistent. The screen showed a comparison between modern human DNA and the sample taken from remains that were over 100,000 years old. Within both samples were identical sequences that appeared engineered, not evolved. These sequences, Mech said, pointing at the screen. They showed deliberate modification, but your species did not have gene technology until recently. No, we didn't, Jin agreed. At least, not in our recorded history. What's more troubling, Mech continued, is that these same engineered sequences appear in modified forms in 17 space-faring species, including my own. We always assumed they were convergent evolution. Jin closed the program and stood up. Would you like to see something else interesting? She led Mech outside, where the setting sun cast long shadows across the desert landscape. On a nearby cliff face, exposed by recent excavation, were more of the mysterious symbols. My colleague Jun is examining identical markings halfway around the world right now, Jin said. And I suspect your archaeologist Vos is very confused. In orbit above Earth, the Coalition's science vessel was making its own discoveries. Captain Dole stared at the scan results in disbelief. Scan again, he ordered. There must be an error. The technician ran the planetary scan a second time. The results were identical. A network of structures deep beneath Earth's surface, connected by tunnels that ran impossibly through the mantle itself. The structures formed a perfect geometric pattern around the planet, and all showed the same strange energy signature. The humans claimed to have explored only a fraction of their ocean floor, Dahl said. How could they not know about this? On the view screen, a communication request blinked. It was from Pac, the human liaison assigned to their vessel. Captain Dole, Pac said when his face appeared on screen. I understand you found some interesting formations beneath our oceans. Dole's antenna twitched in surprise. How did you know what we discovered? Pac smiled. We've been expecting you to find them. They're meant to be found now. What are they? Who built them? They're waiting stations, Pac replied cryptically. Built for the day they would be needed again. By whom? Dole demanded. Before Pac could answer, an alert sounded. One of the deep structures had activated, sending a signal straight up through the ocean and into space. Similar signals began emanating from locations around the planet. On the lunar surface, where a coalition survey team had been examining what they thought was a natural formation, the ground began to shift. Rock and dust fell away, revealing a metallic surface with the now familiar symbols etched into it. Back in the underground chamber on Jeju Island, the walls began to glow faintly, the symbols lighting up in sequence. "What's happening?" Voz asked, backing away. Professor June touched one of the glowing symbols gently. "They're waking up. All around the world, all around the solar system, they're waking up." "What is waking up?" Voz asked, feeling a primal fear he couldn't explain. "Our past," June replied. "Humanity's forgotten legacy." The coalition representatives gathered nervously in the ancient chamber beneath Mount Hala. The room was perfectly circular, walls made of a material that resembled black glass, but was harder than diamond. The floor depicted a star map in glowing lines that periodically shifted, showing stellar movements across vast time periods. Elder Han sat calmly at the center of the room. He appeared to be an ordinary elderly human, perhaps 80 years old, with silver hair and weathered skin. But his eyes revealed something ancient beyond measure. "We thank you for coming," Han said, his voice surprisingly strong. "It is time for truth." The coalition's supreme diplomat Nell stepped forward, mandibles twitching with anxiety. Behind him stood representatives from 12 different species, all among the most advanced civilizations in known space. "Your technologies have disrupted our understanding of galactic history," Nell said. "Your people claim to be primitive, yet these chambers and the energy signatures we detect across your system suggest otherwise. We demand an explanation." Han smiled gently. "Not demand. Ask. We are beyond the age of demands." He raised his hand, and the star map on the floor expanded upward, filling the chamber with light. Stars and planets swirled around them, creating the illusion that they floated in space. "This was our home," Han said, highlighting a star system near the galactic core. "Not Earth, not this solar system. We evolved on a world we called Origin, 12 billion years ago." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The galaxy itself was only about 13 billion years old. "Impossible," whispered Voz, the archaeologist. "No sentient species could evolve so early in the galaxy's formation." "We were the first," Han said simply. "The first to achieve intelligence, the first to master space travel, the first to understand the nature of consciousness itself." The star map shifted, showing thousands of worlds connected by lines of light. "We explored, we built, we created an empire spanning 10,000 worlds," Han continued. "And then, in our pride, we fell." The holographic display showed stars exploding, worlds burning, entire systems vanishing into darkness. "What happened?" asked Mech, the geneticist. "War," Han replied. "War beyond your comprehension. Not with weapons as you understand them, but with the fabric of reality itself. We tore holes in space-time. We weaponized evolution. We became monsters." The display shifted again, showing a small group of ships fleeing toward the outer rim of the galaxy. The survivors, those who rejected what we had become, fled. "We found a young, primitive world with promising indigenous life." Han gestured around him. "Earth. Here, we made a choice." "What choice?" Nal asked, his voice barely a whisper. "To begin again. To shed our technology, our power, our immortality. To integrate our genetic material with the primitive life forms of Earth. To forget what we were and evolve naturally alongside Earth's creatures." The hologram now showed human DNA strands intertwining with other species, evolving together over millions of years. "You see," Han said, "humans did not evolve from Earth's primates. Earth's primates evolved from us, as we deliberately devolved ourselves." Jin, the human geneticist, stepped forward. That explains the engineered sequences in our DNA. They're remnants of what we once were. Yes, Han nodded. And before we forgot ourselves, we left protectors, machines and installations that would monitor the galaxy and wake us when needed. But why? Demanded Captain Dole. Why would an advanced species choose to become primitive? Because immortality without growth is stagnation, Han replied. And because power without wisdom is destruction. We needed to remember what it means to be mortal before we could safely wield the power we once commanded. The alien vessel appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was massive, nearly 5 kilometers long, and shaped like a gleaming silver arrowhead. For 3 days, it maintained position above the planet, broadcasting no messages, showing no signs of hostility or friendship. Governments scrambled in panic. Military forces went on high alert. Citizens around the world alternated between terror and fascination. Han stood slowly and approached the coalition representatives. Your species, all of you, carry our genetic heritage. In a very real sense, you are our children. We seeded hundreds of worlds with modified versions of our DNA, ensuring life would flourish even if we failed in our renewal. The hologram shifted one final time, showing genetic comparisons between humans and every coalition species. The similarities were unmistakable. The symbols you found across the galaxy were our signatures, Han explained. Our way of marking the worlds we touched, so that someday, when we were ready, we could find our children again. Nell sank to his knees, overcome by the revelation. We have searched for the elder species for millennia. We thought they were a myth. No myth, Han said softly. Just a people who needed to forget in order to remember what matters. And now? Asked Professor June. Han looked up as the chamber walls began to pulse with soft light. Now we are remembering. Because we must. Why must you remember now? Vaz asked, sensing something terrible. Because, Elder Han said, his eyes reflecting ancient sorrow. They are returning. The ones we fought. The reason we fell. And this time, we must protect not just ourselves, but all of you as well. The Coalition Council was deeply divided. After the revelations from Elder Han, half believed humans should be embraced as the progenitors of galactic life. The other half saw them as an unpredictable threat. Admiral Zek led the faction that feared humanity. These creatures admit they nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. We cannot risk letting them regain their power. Without council approval, Zek dispatched 3 warships to secure the lunar installation. Their mission: capture the facility and learn its secrets before humans could fully awaken their ancient technologies. The coalition vessels approached the lunar surface where a massive door had emerged from what once appeared to be a natural crater. Captain Lod commanded the lead ship. No response to communications, reported his lieutenant. The humans are ignoring our warnings. Deploy the excavation team, ordered Lod. Breach the entrance if necessary. 30 soldiers in environmental suits landed on the lunar surface. They approached the door cautiously, carrying energy cutters and scanning equipment. The massive entrance stood silent, its surface covered with the now familiar symbols that had been found across the galaxy. Begin cutting, ordered the team leader. The moment the energy cutter touched the door's surface, a wave of energy pulsed outward. It wasn't destructive. It simply passed through everything like a ripple through water. The soldiers froze, confused. Deep beneath Seoul, Minji sat in a hidden control center that had remained sealed for millions of years. She watched multiple screens showing feeds from around the solar system and beyond. Her fingers danced across controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. They triggered the recognition pulse. She reported to the small group of humans gathered around her. Just as we expected. General Du, a stocky man with serious eyes, nodded. And now it begins. On one screen, they watched the coalition soldiers on the moon. The pulse had done more than alert Earth's defenders. It had scanned the genetic makeup of every living being it touched. The lunar door was now analyzing the results. "Coalition species confirmed," said a soft voice that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "All carry primary genetic markers. Protocol awakening initiated." Minji's fingers moved faster. "It's not just here. The pulse has reached the outer system. Everything is connecting." On another screen, they watched as an asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter suddenly changed course. Its surface cracked, revealing a metallic interior that began to glow with internal lights. "Monitoring Station 16 coming online," reported the wall voice. Similar reports began streaming in from across the solar system. Objects previously thought to be natural, small moons, asteroids, even features on the planets themselves, revealed their true nature as disguised outposts and installations. On Earth, ancient sites around the globe activated simultaneously. Beneath Stonehenge, below the Egyptian pyramids, under the ocean near Japan's coast, doors opened that had remained sealed since before recorded human history. In orbit, the main coalition vessel received frantic communications from their lunar team. "Something's happening," reported the team leader, voice tight with fear. "The door is opening." But we didn't. The transmission cut off as the massive door slid silently open, revealing a corridor bathed in soft blue light. Before the soldiers could react, tendrils of the light extended outward, enveloping them. "What's happening to our team?" demanded Captain Laud from orbit. On the lunar surface, the soldiers stood frozen, eyes wide as information flooded directly into their minds. The true history of the galaxy, the origin of their own species, the reason for humanity's long sleep. Minji watched all this from the control center. "The light isn't harming them," she explained to General Du. "It's educating them." "Will it be enough?" he asked. "For some, not for all." She pointed to another screen where Admiral Zek's flagship was preparing weapons. "Some will need more convincing." In orbit around Earth, the coalition vessels detected energy buildups across the planet's surface. What they had thought were primitive human defense systems were revealing themselves as something far more advanced. Admiral Zek made his decision. "Target the primary energy sources and fire. We cannot allow them to fully awaken." The weapons officer hesitated. "Sir, firing on a world without council approval." "Do it now, before it's too late." The flagship's main cannon charged, aiming at a massive energy signature near Earth's North Pole. Just as it prepared to fire, the ship's systems went completely dark. In the sudden silence and darkness of the bridge, a holographic image appeared, a human woman in simple clothing. "We were hoping for peaceful contact," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "But we prepared for alternatives." All across the galaxy, dormant systems buried on countless worlds hummed to life. Human outposts that had appeared primitive transformed overnight. Communication networks that had seemed basic suddenly operated with technologies no coalition scientist could comprehend. General Du addressed an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. "For millennia, we've watched over the galaxy, guided developing species, and protected them from threats they couldn't understand. Our ancestors chose this path of guardianship, even as they surrendered their power." He looked around the room gravely. "But now the protection of our children requires us to reveal ourselves fully. The Great Awakening has begun." The coalition fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system, their ships forming a protective ring around the diplomatic vessel at the center. After Admiral Zek's failed attack and the subsequent demonstration of human power, disabling his entire fleet without firing a shot, the coalition had fractured along ideological lines. 12 species had chosen alliance with humanity. 9 had declared humans a threat to galactic security. The remaining 6 had chosen neutrality, waiting to see which side would prevail. On Earth, preparations continued at an astonishing pace. Facilities dormant for millions of years were now fully operational. Humans who had lived ordinary lives just weeks ago discovered they had been prepared for this moment through subtle genetic triggers passed down through countless generations. Sun worked deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, activating systems built into the planet's crust. His fingers moved across control panels with practiced precision, despite having never seen them before today. Knowledge buried in his DNA had awakened, giving him access to memories that belonged to ancestors who had lived billions of years ago. All geothermal taps are online, he reported through the global network that now connected all awakened humans. Power levels at 90% and rising. Similar reports flowed in from installations around the planet. Dormant technology was being reactivated everywhere. Ancient ships rose from ocean trenches where they had waited in perfect preservation. Defense systems built into mountain ranges powered up. Orbiting platforms disguised as small moons revealed their true nature. Elder Yun stood on a platform overlooking the largest chamber, 3 kilometers beneath Mount Everest. Here, the greatest achievement of the ancient human civilization hummed with renewed energy, a device that could bend the fabric of space-time itself. "The gateway is almost ready," she said to the coalition representatives who had chosen alliance. "When fully powered, it will allow instantaneous travel between any 2 points in the galaxy." Nal, who had become humanity's strongest advocate within the coalition, stepped forward. "Such technology would transform civilization as we know it." "It once did," Yun replied, "before the war." At the gathering point beyond Neptune's orbit, the Coalition's Supreme Council met in emergency session. The chamber was tense, divided between those who saw humanity as the rightful elders of the galaxy and those who feared them. "They disabled our most powerful warships without firing a shot," argued Nal. "If they wished us harm, we would already be destroyed. Or perhaps they simply wished to conquer us intact," countered Zek, who had been stripped of his rank, but still commanded respect among the military factions. "They admit their civilization once fell due to war and pride. Why should we believe they have changed?" Before the debate could continue, alarms sounded throughout the fleet. Long-range sensors detected something massive approaching from the direction of the galactic core, a darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. In Earth's command center, the ancient detection grid displayed the same approaching anomaly. General Du studied it with grim recognition. "The Void Ones," he said quietly. "They'd found us again." You, the youngest of the newly awakened human leaders, looked confused. "I thought they were just legends. Stories from the old war." "Not legends," Du replied. "The reason our ancestors chose to hide. The reason we buried our technology and forgot ourselves." He brought up historical records on the main display. Images of worlds being consumed by what appeared to be living darkness, civilizations vanishing overnight, entire star systems being absorbed into a growing region of nothingness that defied the laws of physics. "They don't destroy," explained Du. "They consume. Matter, energy, information, consciousness, all become part of them. They nearly destroyed us before. We fled, hid ourselves, scattered our children across the galaxy, and waited." "Waited for what?" asked Du. "For our children to grow strong enough to help us fight," Du answered, "and for us to remember wisdom along with power." In orbit, the gateway powered up for the first time in eons. Not just Earth's gateway, but similar devices hidden on 47 worlds throughout the galaxy, all activating simultaneously, all connecting into a single network. Elder Yun addressed the coalition representatives one final time before they departed to warn their worlds. "The reason we hid ourselves was not shame or fear of you," she explained. "We were standing guard. The enemy that destroyed our first civilization has returned from the dark between galaxies." She gestured toward the displays showing the approaching darkness. "This is why we created you," she continued softly. "Why we guided your evolution. Why we watched over you as you grew. You are not just our children. You are our hope. Different perspectives, different biologies, different ways of thinking that might find solutions we could not." On Earth's surface, ancient ships rose into the sky by the thousands. From hidden bases across the solar system, more vessels emerge. From beneath oceans, from inside mountains, from the frozen poles. Humanity's ancient armada assembled. Sun stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as the coalition vessels approached, not as enemies now, but as allies. "We created you," he said, echoing Elder Yun's words to his crew. "And now we will fight alongside you. This time, we are ready." As the first tendrils of void reached the outer solar system, humanity and their cosmic children prepared to face the darkness together.